Hello guys, welcome to your lesson for today. So today you guys will be learning about tables and graphs and how to interpret those graphs. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, here are your vocabulary words for today. We have relation, domain, range, function, independent variable, dependent variable, and vertical line text. So let's go ahead and start with our very first definition. So we have what is called a set of ordered pairs is called a relation. The domain of a relation is the set of x values, and the range of the relation is the set of y values. Okay, so we all know from 6th and 7th grade that an ordered pair can be maybe 2, 1 when we go ahead and graph that. So this right here will be our x value and this will be our y value. So similar to the alphabet x, y, so x always comes first. So if we want to find the domain here, the domain here will be 2 and the range will be 1. So again, the domain is those are the x values and the range will be the y values. Alright, okay, so here we have an example. So here we need to give the domain and range of each relation. So remember dr, so domain and range, domain and range. So the x's will be the domain, so the domain in this case will be the x values, and then the range of course will be the y values. And basically all we do is we list them. Alright, so here we have -8 for the domain, again right here, -3, 1, 4, and 11. Now you want to make sure you put them in order from least to greatest. Okay, so once you put them in order from least to greatest, that will be our domain. Those will be the x values. Now for the range, again the range will be right here, -5 to 0, -3, and again we still want to put them in order from least to greatest. Alright, so we have -5, -3, 0, and 2. So basically it's very easy. That's how we find the domain and the range of a relation. Alright, so go ahead and find the domain and the range for this one. Now, as we can see here, the domain will be, of course, all the x values, the range, all the y values. So again, we want to make sure we list them in order, and here is the range. Alright, now you go ahead and try this one. Pause, try it, and then come back and get the answer. Alright, so for this one, again, even though it's written this way, it's still D and it's still R, dr. So will be -5, -3, 1, 2, 4, 7. This one is already in order. We really didn't have to do a lot of work. And then the range, of course, the set of all the y values. Okay, so now we're moving on to what is actually a function. So what a function is a special type of relation that pairs each input or domain value with exactly one output or range value. Basically what this is saying, for each x I get exactly, for each x that I put in I get a y value. So if I put in a 1, maybe I might get a 2. I put in a 2, I'll get a 3. So here you can, and then if I put in a 3, I'll get a 4. So as you can see here, what we are doing +1. So if I'm doing +1 to x, which is my input, that's also another name for the domain is the input, and this will be the output. So picture you have a calculator in your hand, and if you do 1 + 1, you are never going to get anything but 2. But if you plug in 1 and then you do plus 1 and you get 3, now you know something is wrong, because I cannot do 1 and then I do it again and I get 2. So this will never happen. So this right here will not be a function. Whenever the x repeats, that will not be a function, because there's no way for me to plug in on a calculator 1 plus 1 and I get 3. And then I do it again, 1 plus 1 and I get 2. So this will not be a function. So a function is every x, every input, everything that I put in, I get exactly one output. Alright? So this right here will be an example of a function. And let's see if you guys can figure out the rule. The rule is what we are doing to x to the input to find the output. So this will be my input and my output. So what are we doing to x to get y? So in this case, it will be plus 3. Okay, so if I do 0 plus 3, I get 3. If I do 0 plus 3 again, I'm never going to get some different number, like 7. Okay, so it is always going to be the one value. So that's why our x's cannot repeat. So 1 plus 3 we get 4, 2 plus 3 we get 5, and 3 plus 3 we get 6. So this right here is called a rule. Okay. Now let's take a look at a non-example. So this right here will not be a function. Alright. So let's say here, for we put in 0 we get 2, we put in 1 we get 4, we put in 1 we get 6. So there is no way I can do the exact same thing to 1 and get different numbers. So here my domain will be, my domain here will be 0, 1, 1 again, and 3. And for those two 1, I do the exact same thing to them, but I end up with 4 and 6. So whenever you have two numbers repeating in the domain or on the x values, remember the domain is also the x values, that will not be a function. Okay, so there's no way I'm gonna do, let's say I'm doing plus 3, I do 1 plus 3 and I get 4, and then I do 1 plus 3 again and I get 6. No way. Okay, so that right here will not be a function. When again, whenever the x values repeat, it's not a function. Alright, so let's take a look at what's independent variable and what is a dependent variable. Alright, so basically it's the same thing. The input, the independent variable will be the input, and then the output will be the dependent variable. So the independent variable, again, a good way to remember, input start with independent. You start with an N, so that'll be our independent variable. And this one will be the dependent variable. One way to remember it is that the output depends on the input. It doesn't matter what number we put in, but the output depends on what type of number we put in. So for example, if my rule is plus let's say it's times 2 and I plug in 4, so because I plug in a 4, so my output will depend on what I put in, so that'll give me 8. Alright, so pretend like you're working. The more hours you work, right, the more money you'll make in your paycheck. So your paycheck depends on the amount of time you put in. Get it? So independent variable, that would be the input, or the x, or the x's, the x values, and the dependent variable, that one would be the y values. Alright, so now we are going to graph what we've been talking about. So we are going to make a table. So here I have my input and my output, and this right here is the rule. It's called a function rule. What we are going to do to the inputs to get an answer, to get a result, which is a y. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how this is done. Basically, what we do, we plug in the numbers. So I'm just going to replace this x value with -2. Again, I'm substituting. And here we get 5. Remember, a minus and a minus, that will turn out to be a plus. Okay, now we have 3 minus -1, that will be 4. 3, and so on and so forth. Alright, and now we graph the point. Alright, so this right here, this line has a negative slope, which we will learn in the next lesson. So this right here will be our line. All we did was plug in some numbers. I usually say to use 3 good points, -1, 0, and 1, to see where the graph is going. But we will learn how to do the graph without having to do substitution. Alright, so go ahead and try this one. Determine if each relation represents a function. Pause, do it, answer the question, and then come back and get the answer. Alright, so what do you guys think? Is this a function? Alright, no, this will not be a function. The main reason, when I look at my input or my dependent variable, the x's, I see that the x repeat. So there's no way I can do the exact same thing to x and get 2 different answers. Alright, so this will not be a function. Okay, go ahead and try this one. Is this a function? Alright, yes, it is a function. Now, notice that the y repeat. It's okay if the range repeat. This is the range. It's okay if the range repeat or dependent variable repeats. The only thing that cannot repeat are the x's. Those guys cannot repeat. But just because I have to -1 in my range, that's fine. It's still a function as long as x cannot repeat. It's not repeating, we're good. Alright, go ahead and try this one. Now no, don't try this one. Let me explain this. Here it says determine if it's, so using a graph, what we want to do, we do what is called a vertical line test. Okay, so if we are doing a vertical line test, all we do is we draw vertical lines. And if the line touches the graph in more than 2 area, then this will not be a function. Alright, again, using the vertical line test, we just do straight lines going down on the graph. And if the line, the ones that we draw, touches the graph in more than 1 spot, then it's not going to be a function. Alright, let's do a FCAT example. Go ahead and try to do this one by yourself. Answer the question on the right hand side, and then come back and get the answer. Alright, so here we had to identify which one is a function, and that one right here will be C. Again, A is not a function because x repeating here, this one is repeating here, this one is repeating, so those guys will not be functions. Okay, well, that was it for today. I thought this was not too difficult. I will be doing the videos from now on to make sure that you guys understand the concept. Remember, you will have a quiz tomorrow on this, and hopefully it should be an easy A, right? Because this is super easy. Okay guys, so that was it for today. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.